Okay, this is the innovative part of this program. This second segment, we have the honor of having NIE, Dr. Kenneth Lim, to be with us, to share a little bit more on how we can deliver our program in an innovative way. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, so please excuse me. Basically, he's going to show us a very interesting format, an interesting way of even running this breakout part of the lesson. So I think I will pass the floor to him. Keep an open mind. I think the students here are all very excited. I think they are very happy here as well because I hear that the last paper exam was yesterday. So they're very happy to be here. Yeah, so welcome to our students here as well. And I'll pass the mic to Kenneth.
Thank you very much, Samantha, for the gracious introduction. And thank you to all of you who have chosen to attend this track. I'm very grateful to you. I shall try my best to make sure that your time here is not wasted. Earlier during lunch, you had my boss, Dr. Han David. He introduced the book series, and he said that as academics, we're not. This is kind of a foreign environment to us because we're not. We're not really accustomed to addressing an audience of your caliber every day. So please pardon me if I appear nervous because I am nervous. Okay, so this first slide is actually it was the first slide of my original PowerPoint, but as I went to bed last night and then I woke up and then I had kind of a brainwave, so I'm not sure whether this is. So I'm going to change I just wanted to show you my original PowerPoint, but that's not what I'm doing today. So today is very experimental, very daring. Everything is untested. Oops, I just blew it. Okay, good. So if those of you who I'm sure all of us have done presentations at one stage or other of our life. Some of us do it for a living, right? And then one of the first things that you know as a good presenter is to minimize the use of technology in your presentation, because that will greatly reduce the chances of anything going wrong. So I have chosen to throw that advice totally out the window, and I've got no fewer than 9 computers, including my iPad. So we really don't know how this is going to turn out, but with your cooperation, I am hoping to give you a worthy session of your time. I'm showing this as my title slide because, by the way, yeah, so the students and the teachers here are from Ang Mo Kio Secondary School, whom I've had the pleasure of working with for the past 3 years. Okay, so now, I chose this as my title slide because just as Greg Markey, who was here earlier this afternoon and this morning, there are some of us here who have been flying in and flying out, and even though maybe we are locally based, we are pretty used to. We have very high frequent flyer miles. So actually next week I'm also flying. And I'm actually flying cross-continent, and it's the first time I've done an itinerary like this, so I wanted to share this with you. Those of you who know the answer immediately, if you know the correct answer, okay, actually in education and learning we know that there's no such thing as a correct answer. But in this particular case, because it's just a simple quiz question, so there is a kind of a correct answer. So for those of you who know the correct answer, just don't yell it out because it'll spoil everybody's fun. But, or you can pretend that you don't know the correct answer. Okay, then you can try giving the, okay, so let's see. If we were to fly from Newark, okay, or from JFK to Hong Kong, which I'm actually doing next week, it's apparently the 11th longest flight in the world. So if we were to fly from Newark to Hong Kong, now Newark to Hong Kong is in the same time zone as us, right? So if Hong Kong is the same time zone as us, and we know that those of us who have business transactions in the Manhattan area, we know that Manhattan at this time of year, if daylight savings is 12 hours behind us. So we are more or less equidistant. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. We're more or less like right the other end of the world. What would your route or route, as the Americans say, be? If you know the correct answers, please don't yell it out, because let us think about it a little bit. It could be both. It could be either trans-Pacific or transatlantic, right? Yeah, but there's actually it's actually neither trans-Pacific nor transatlantic. So if it's neither trans-Pacific nor transatlantic, what might it be? Okay, you can say the correct answer now. Now is a good time to say the correct answer. Have any of you actually tried doing it? Have any of you tried a similar routing? Flying from East Coast to our part of the world. If you fly Singapore Airlines, you know by now, of course, if you fly economy, it will go JFK, Frankfurt, Singapore, right? If you are fortunate enough to travel business by Singapore, I'm not sure actually, there are six, but I'm not going to Singapore, I'm going to Hong Kong. So what route would it take? If it's neither transatlantic nor transpolar? Hey, I just said it, it's transpolar. So it's across the North Pole. Okay? So it's across the North Pole. So it's actually, so in other words, one of the things I'm trying to say is that for a map like this map is what is generally taught in school and what we find on Google. In fact, all these pictures I found on Google this morning. But it's just one perspective of understanding the world. And especially given your positions in your respective companies, all of us are quite globalized people, we are quite comfortable global citizens, and we crisscross the globe quite frequently. And sometimes it's worth thinking about what exactly we are doing and what lessons we can take away from the things we take for granted. So you will see that there's actually something called the Great Circle. So the Great Circle is actually the shortest point connecting a sphere to 2 points on a sphere. And in this case, the Great Circle between the East Coast and Hong Kong is actually up here. So this next slide shows it more. So this is actually the shortest, and this is indeed the road which the plane flies. But back to the 2D map. This is a screen capture from a YouTube video. So pardon its poor resolution. But back to the 2D map. It appears to be the plane takes a highly counterintuitive route. Okay, the plane takes a highly counterintuitive route, which is like the longest way to get from Newark to Hong Kong, but it's actually the shortest way. Okay, so what is going on here? So I thought I'd begin this afternoon's session with inviting you to consider the role that intuitions about the intuitions that now I'm going to assume that all of us that you here are leaders or thought leaders of companies and private schools and institutions. So I'm going to assume that as part and parcel of your job, you have part of your responsibility is that you have people working under you whose human resource needs and professional development needs you need to look after. So if that assumption is valid, sometimes what I'm trying to say to begin with is that the intuitions that your new recruits, your trainees, your newbies to your company bring with them sometimes can get in the way of their enculturation into your corporate culture. I shall say this again. The intuitions that your new recruits bring to your company can sometimes get in the way of their enculturation into your corporate culture. I do not know if this, as I said, this is the first time I'm addressing an audience such as of your caliber. So I'm hoping that you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's the same in school. Of course, it's the same in school because sometimes these so-called prior knowledge or preconceptions get in the way of their learning. And sometimes what is the most obvious is not necessarily the most efficient way to follow things. Now, so from there, I think I'd like to lead into the school that I've been working with for the past 3 years, which is I've had the great privilege of working with Ang Mo Kio Secondary. And today, what I hope to let you understand is by having the opportunity to have very close interactions, I deliberately invited 18, 16 of us here. By having the opportunity to interact with closely with students who are 14 and 15 years old, who are potentially going to enter the workforce in, I don't know, maybe 6-10 years time, they would be your potential recruits. But you know how sometimes our local graduates are contrasted with overseas grads, and sometimes our local graduates are painted in a fairly non-complimentary light to say that, you know, they're like all yes men, and they're not very critical thinkers, and they just follow what they're told. But today I hope to introduce you to a group of young people who to me, they seem very articulate, very self-confident, and self-directed learners, okay? So I'd just like to invite you to think about what is it, as you interact with them over the course of the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours or so, what is it about the curriculum that they're experiencing in their school that enables them to be much more self-directed than typical neighborhood school students of their age. And one of the things I'd like to introduce to you, to your thought as a provocation, is that we have tried to make the learning, the curriculum authentic. Of course, authenticity is a word which is bandied about by management very frequently. But to translate it to a training or to an instructional curriculum is quite another thing. I mean, it's easy to talk about authentic learning, but it may be difficult to plan for and enact authentic learning. So here we've deliberately divided the room in. As you can see, the room is arranged quite differently from Greg's arrangement, and there are actually 3 implicit sections to the room, okay? So there's this section here, there's that section there, and then this section here, and Spring has very kindly arranged the seats in this to augment the sections. So what we'll be doing for the rest of the 1.5 hours here is that we'll be doing a series of 3 rotations. So every half hour we will change. So every half hour we will rotate to the next section. I need to invite you to kind of be ready to get up and go, because if some of us kind of like just stay put, can also, but then, you know, I don't want to waste your time. And if you are really here to have something to take away, I would invite you to actually get to listen to all 3 stations. If you remember Greg's session immediately preceding this, he asked you all to, one of the activities he put us through was to build a marshmallow tower, right? And that's learning by, I would characterize that as learning by building. And indeed, we have a learning by building section right here, except it's done in a virtual environment. Now, I'm not here to make any judgment calls on whether, I mean, different people have different understandings of the value of virtual environments and immersive environments to learning and to education. But that one can be a discussion for another day. Today, I'd just like us to concentrate on how the curriculum experience that the students will share with you today has added to the authenticity of their learning. And because the authenticity of their learning is very deep, it has been impactful to them, and this has resulted in them being able to express their learning to an external audience, namely yourselves. And not only that, but to an external professional audience of who are much more, on paper, much more senior than them. And yet, if they're able to pull this off, which I'm hoping, in fact, I'm very confident they will, because I've seen them do it before many times. In fact, they presented to the Director of Education before. When they pull this off, then it's something that I hope you to be able to take away, that sometimes the authenticity leads to the surfacing of the tacit intuitions, back to intuitions. The authenticity leads to the surfacing of the tacit intuitions, and from there, the learning becomes more meaningful. Okay, So I'm now going to stop talking and say again. So maybe for the first half an hour, the ladies and gentlemen staying on this bank can proceed to shift closer behind the students. Okay, so this is learning by building. Okay, this is learning by, and likewise for those ladies and gentlemen sitting here, this is learning by being. Okay, and for those ladies and gentlemen sitting here, this is learning by collaborating. Okay, and we will have a teacher or myself with you to take you through and every half hour we will switch. So if you could do this now, I would really be very grateful. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, then it's fine. If you want to walk out and leave the room now, no problem, because you didn't come in here with the expectation that you'll be doing a lot of moving around. Okay, so thank you.